Welcome to another episode of Money You Should Ask. I'm your host, Bob Wheeler, and in this episode, we're going to explore, question, examine, converse, dig deep, expose, laugh and cry about the money beliefs, money blocks, and life choices of our next guest. Turn up the volume, listen, learn, and laugh. I'd like to thank our sponsor, The Money Nerve, a financial resource that helps you have a healthier relationship with money. Do you feel shame around your past financial decisions? Do you feel alone in your financial struggles? Do you self-sabotage your potential financial successes? Do you keep making the same choices, expecting different results? The Money Nerve has just launched a new online course called The Course to Financial Freedom. To learn more, go to themoneynerve.com/course. The Money Nerve has an offer to all Money You Should Ask listeners for a 25% discount on the course. Use code MYSA, all caps, 25, and start your course to financial freedom now. So I'm excited today because I have with us the world famous producer, director, Elliott Lester. Elliott, thank you for joining us. It's awesome.
It's a pleasure.
So I was going over your credits. You've done Blitz with Jason Statham, Nightingale, which got a Golden Globe nomination, Sleepwalker. You got your start doing music videos and award-winning McDonald's commercial, which with me, where I did a terrible job of playing basketball but I was a great basketball fan.
You actually moved the needle in that market. You actually, I think you spiked the sales that year.
Everybody wanted. Well, I didn't remember what the burger was. It was some special NBA burger.
I don't think we'll ever know the contents of that.
We'll never. I think I had to eat about 100 of those burgers.
And for that, you deserved every penny.
It was worth every penny. Although AFTRA tried to make it go from SAG to AFTRA in the pain.
That's terrible.
They were like,
I'm
no,
sure.
we can pay you as AFTRA.
Yes.
Actors, it's rough. It's rough.
Terrible.
So, you're originally from across the pond.
I am from London. England.
From London?
Yeah.
Great Britain. I wonder why they never went with Good Britain. I guess great just sounded better.
I think it would probably be Good Britain now.
It's Good Britain.
And Great Britain then.
So, did you always want to be a director?
No.
What did you want to do? What were you going to be?
So my life, my conscious life was when I started traveling around the world, and I lived in India for about a year and experienced that. And then I came back, went to university, got a philosophy degree. Yeah. And then I decided to take 6 or 7 months out, and I moved to a country called Uzbekistan, and I became a sheep herder. And I would steer cattle in the Kamush Khan Valley, which is the foothills of the Himalayas. But I had a pretty great time. And then from there I came back, finished my degree, and then I decided to join the circus, join the sort of movie business in England. And I was doing Japanese commercials. I was doing the commercials that all the movie stars would do but would never tell you about. Oh, right. So I started at the very, very bottom. And there were no cell phones and things like that back then in the rotary days. And I sort of got bored with that and decided to travel around America, and very quickly fell in love with America and the idea of opportunity and potential. And I ended up becoming an American quite quickly. Okay. That story I won't tell you about. Okay. I think you were there for that. Actually, of course you were there.
Yes,
It's nothing you don't know. But I met you in my first year. You were very nice to me. I've never forgotten how good you were. You were an amazing man. I didn't have much money and I needed my accounting done. And I said to you, can you give me a discount? And you gave me a biblical discount. And I thought, if you've got someone who's going to be that good to you early in your life, then you stick with that person. Yeah. Here we are 24 years later.
Here we are. Well, let me ask you this. I want to ask you this. So you did sheep herding.
I did, yeah.
How do you quit that job? Who do you like?
Why do you quit that job?
Why do you quit that job? Yeah.
How do you quit that job? You mean you get off the horse and say goodbye?
Who are you herding for? And are you the master herder?
I was never a master of anything that way, but I had rented a van from a man, and this is God's honest truth, whose name was Horseshit. And his name was Horseshit Vyadov. And Horseshit Vyadov had friends in the Kamush Khan and had convinced me to go there and said, you can get in the saddle and you can ride around and you can steer the sheep. And that's what it wasn't.
It wasn't like this is going to be a career for a while. It was just a cool
experience. Like, hey, you know what? There's something else I haven't done.
Yeah.
Why not? And what would happen is you would, because you're out in the field.
Yeah.
I say you're out in the Khan.
Yeah.
And you would milk horses and you drink horse milk, which tastes like horse sweat.
Yeah.
And you would obviously eat some of the herd, and you'd eat like sheep's testicles with kidneys that were sort of fried.
It's such a good, with a little bit of rice, it's awesome.
And I, to be honest with you, I love the simplicity of the life.
Yeah.
I can't tell you I learnt a lot, because I think it's, apart from the peace, but yeah, it was quite good. I really didn't learn anything about money management.
Yeah. Well, I was a dokyo herder for a day.
What?
When I was in Nepal.
Oh, of course.
So dokyo is like a yak, and they had to do they forgot to negotiate some food or something, and the dokyo herder had to go, and they were like, hey, Bob, you've done this a couple times, because I'd been to Nepal, and they're like, how about you want to herd the dokyos? So I had like 35 dokyos, and it was very scary, because I didn't know which way I was supposed. There were a couple times where I got to a road.
Were you from the rear though? You're coming up the road. Were you on a were you on a horse or you walking?
No, I was walking. So sometimes I'd
steer.
start at the front, and then sometimes be at the back, because it would always be funny when we'd turn a corner and people would stand aside, and then here comes this little white guy with all this doke, and people are like.
But I bet they loved you.
It was great. It was fun. But there is something about the simplicity. Being up in those places,
which is why I moved to Los Angeles, clearly,
it's
to
super
sort of carry
simple.
on. It's so simple. And
did your family, when you were growing up, you have siblings?
I have a brother.
You have a brother
who's here.
Okay. And did your parents middle class?
So my family, their origin is they were quite poor, and sons and daughters of immigrants. And Jewish, and my parents were lower sort of middle class. My father was like a director of sales, and my mother, her livelihood, she'd been working in fairgrounds her whole life.
Okay.
Like a little bit like a carny.
Okay.
They had a shooting gallery.
Okay.
And my mum was an expert marksman.
Okay.
And
that's sort of cool.
Our lifestyle was sort of, we didn't really want for anything.
Right.
My father was sort of financially prudent, and he would spend the money on vacations, but wouldn't necessarily change the carpets in the house.
Right.
He was like, don't worry about that. We should go out and live rather than. But what I learned, and sadly my father passed away recently, was that my father was actually very shrewd. He put a lot of money away for my mum, and he bought property, and he sort of took care of her. I think so to answer the question in a long way around, lower middle class values.
And what were some of so one of the things your dad said obviously was it's better to go out and have an experience than do the carpet. Were there any other things that you remember? Like,
absolutely. I mean, my father had an amazing work ethic, and when I was young, we used to have these sort of open air markets, a bit like like a farmer's market, except they would sell everything there, and they were big, and I lived near a famous sort of concert hall called Wembley Stadium, and my father got me a job working selling clothes, but I was 11,
right,
and he told the guy who hired me that I was 13, because he felt that I should have a working experience from a very young age. And to be fair, it sort of kept me out of trouble, because every Sunday I'd have to go and work.
Right.
And I had that job. I worked in the market till I was about 15 or 16. I saved a lot of money. And you learn how to deal with people.
Yeah.
The public.
Yeah.
We also had scams. Can I tell you about the scam?
Yeah.
So I had this scam with this girl that used to sell. She worked in the bagel truck. So Harold, who I worked for, who literally never had a cigarette out of his mouth, he would give me like £20 to go get a couple of bagels, couple of cups of tea. So I'd go to the girl, she knew who I was. I'd give her the 20, she'd give me a bag of bagels, 2 cups of tea, and £50 back in cash. I'd then give her a tenner, pocket the rest, and give the give the change to Harold. And no one was any the wiser. And yeah, I mean, I was doing that pretty, and that was just one scam. We had all different sorts of scams going on.
That's so funny. But now, like when the scam, like with that one, who proposed it? Was that something you came up with? It was something she came up with? Like how did? I mean, how did you learn those?
Because I would see, because when you're around money and you're seeing money changing hands, there's always a gap.
Right.
There's always there's something in the margin, and I would always look for the margin.
Yeah.
How can I sort of, and this is probably the incorrect word, how can I exploit that?
Right.
And I sort of would.
Well, just capitalize it on it. That's what we say here in the US.
But the other thing,
capitalize.
But what it did is it also taught me that you could exploit an opportunity. You could seize an opportunity if there was a space in the market.
Right.
Look, do I think it was right? Morally, completely wrong. But, and it's not something I've continued to do.
Right, but when you're 11 or 12.
When you're 11 or 12 and you want to have an extra 20 quid because you want to buy a CD or something, you do it.
Now, your dad let you keep the money?
My father?
Yeah.
Had no knowledge of it. Oh, the money that I...
No.
Oh, you mean as an 11-year-old, as an 11-year-old working in the markets
Right. Did he let
London?
you keep that money?
He wasn't my pimp. Yes, I definitely kept my...
Well, no, my parents borrowed into my money, so like,
they did?
They did.
Oh no, my father had a thing about debt.
Okay.
Because his father had been a gambler, and he would do a thing with bills. He'd get a bill and throw it in the drawer, thinking that the bill would just go away.
Right.
But they were gamblers, and I think my father was petrified of debt. I think my father thought that debt was the biggest crime.
Yeah.
To be beholden to others.
Now, you traveled a lot with your dad? I mean,
No.
he just was about life experience?
We had family vacations, but from the age of 16, I was off. I mean, I was traveling around Europe on my own, and I've been traveling ever since. He was very much about get out the house, live your life, make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. It's not about, it's about how you come back from a problem. It's sort of not allowing your past to sort of define you. Keep going forward, go and try everything. Because listen, I came from a world, middle-class Jewish. A lot of people, they would go to university, become doctors, become accountants, become lawyers, and they would have a very nice lifestyle.
Right, but they might not be happy.
They might not be happy, but you see, it was like this sort of, I was doing what my father was amazing about was, you should do all the things that I never did.
Oh, that's cool.
Because he couldn't, because he had to help his parents out.
Right.
I don't have to support my mum.
Yeah. What's the greatest thing about traveling? Because I know you travel
everywhere.
Like everywhere.
The greatest thing about traveling, I find, is the familiarity with people. I mean, I remember I've done a lot of travel in Southeast Asia and Vietnam, and something occurred to me. I spent about a month and a half in Vietnam. I turned my cell phone off, and I hired this guide, and we traveled around. And I said I wanted to do homestays, and I would stay in people's houses. And there was this familiarity that everybody, it was very basic. People wake up in the morning, like we do. They usually argue with their family. Right. They have breakfast together, they go to work, they come back, they have the family meal, they sit down, they have a couple of drinks, whatever drink their rice wine, and they go to bed. And then the weekends are spent with the family. Yeah. And I found that to be the case all over the world. Yeah. A little bit less here, because I think Los Angeles is not America. Los Angeles is a highly individualized place. Oh yeah. And it's sort of, you build the walls around you, you don't let the walls out. Yeah. That was the thing I noticed. Yeah, it was people are sort of generally the same wherever I've been. Yeah.
And do you think, So having been around the world and then falling in love with the U.S., but there is something, I don't know, when I travel, and I've traveled a bit, but I remember the first time I went down to Mexico, straight out of college. I grew up in Tennessee. We go down to Mexico, and I thought, the signs are in Spanish.
Right.
This is so ridiculous. I speak English.
How bizarre.
And how bizarre, right? So, and then I'm like, oh my God, what an asshole. Right. But initially, that American,
wow,
everything should be catered to me.
You're going to have a hard time in Japan.
And you're...
That's all I'm going to tell you.
Well, I've learned a couple things since then.
Forget that.
But I couldn't believe, like I caught myself. But I think a lot of Americans sort of expect the whole world to cater to them, even in the depths of the Amazon or wherever they're going. And so I'm wondering, like, what do you notice about Americans? They are very individualized.
Right. I'm not going to say, there's nothing I can say about every single American, because I've met some of them, that's not all of them.
Yeah.
Characteristically, Americans are incredibly open, wonderfully non-judgmental, and incredibly ambitious. Mm-hmm. And I think those are just amazing virtues to have. I think America is far more open than the rest of the world is towards Americans. Okay. I feel that Americans sort of get this bad rap around the world, and I don't think it's deserved. I don't think it's justified.
What do you find that you like more here in the U.S. versus what you experienced growing up in England?
It's very, very simple. It is the wealth of opportunity. It is the fact that you can literally, as I have, go out, come here with a dream, make what you want, try, fail, keep failing, get better, make it again, fail. There's endless opportunities because there's no sense of history.
Right.
It doesn't matter. No one cares.
No one cares.
I love that. Well, they care, but they sort of...
Right.
If you're doing well, they don't hate you for it.
Right.
Where I come from, they don't like it. There's a sort of tall... They call it tall poppy syndrome.
Oh, you're getting too big for your britches?
Yeah, they cut you down.
You're showing off.
You're getting a little ahead of yourself, which doesn't happen here in America, which is fantastic. I'm very, very idealistic about America. I think we're just having a moment, but while we're having this moment, the good news is that there's no permanence to it.
Right.
It's not permanent. This won't last.
Well, and I think that's what's hard for a lot of people is when you're in the moment, it feels like it's the whole world or the whole moment, and the reality is it'll pass.
You know, we're, as human beings, what we're taught is to sort of avoid pain, right?
Right.
Like, as soon as something is an affront or difficult for us, we sort of, our reflexes is remove the pain, get it away, get it away, get it away. Well, right now we have to sit with it a little bit.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people that's uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we've sort of, it's not the 1800s. Mm-hmm. People aren't having to panhandle gold. Yeah. We don't, you know, we're not. Yeah. You can go to the hospital. You can drive down the street and have 20 different versions of whatever you want to eat. Yeah. There's no shortage.
Yeah. We're pretty well.
Yeah,
we've got a lot.
Yes.
A lot of abundance.
Remarkable.
A lot of abundance.
Remarkable.
Do you talk? You have a son.
Yes.
Do you talk with your son about money ever?
I do talk to him about money, but my son sort of doesn't necessarily share my appreciation of saving and investing, but I don't think he should. Not yet. I mean, I definitely try. Look, with children, they're going to be whoever they are. Right. You can give them guidance and you can show them things, and what they retain is entirely up to them.
And how did you come to that? Like, I know for my parents, everything is about me, you know, am I going to reflect well on them? Am I going to make them look good? And I think that's, you know, maybe, right. I think that's changing, but I think a lot of parents want their children to, you know, have a lot of accomplishments that they can be proud of.
I want my son to wake up every day and feel happy, know that he's loved and not starve. I think that's, and everything else is his choice. You know, and if he wants advice from me, I'll give it to him, and if he doesn't, it's not about, he's his own person. I want him to be, look, if he, God forbid, ends up taking drugs and, you know, living on the street, then we'll do something about it. But
Right.
what would he do that would embarrass me? It's only embarrassing him.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's a very healthy perspective.
Yeah, he's his own person. I wish I just had more of them.
Yeah.
I wish I had more kids.
Do you have any financial, like, is there anything that financially triggers you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I have, like, I carry this little bit of sense of poverty fear, which I think I get from my father, which is, oh my God, is the money going to run out? The money going to run out? And look, when I met you, I was making less than $10,000 a year. I, as you know, have gone through the years and I've done much better than that. But there is always a sense that what's going to happen when it runs out? Oh my God, I'm never going to earn again. Oh my God, this is, you know, there's always this sort of dread. I think what it is for me, the thing I fear is, you know, not having enough for the future. Yeah. But then it occurred to me the other day, Bob, I've never missed a meal. Right. I've never not been able to get medical care, and I've never not had somewhere to sleep. Right. So I think I'll probably be all right. But yeah, is that answering your question?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
We can answer it a different. I'm not sure I'm answering it in the right way.
There's no right answer. We won't grade you. I promise. We won't judge it. Now, would you consider yourself frugal? Are you thrifty with money?
Well, careful.
Careful
in the sense of, look, I'm not out eating out 20 times a week, every meal. If I can't afford something, I won't buy it.
Yeah. And how do you find that discipline? Because in the U.S., we're all, you know...
Well, it's amazing here. You guys have credit cards.
Don't delay any gratification. You got to have it now. Got to have it instant. Put it on credit. Like, how do you rein that in?
How do I rein that in? I just sort of... If you don't have it, you're not missing it. Do you know what I mean? And I can make sort of objective... What do I want to feel right now? What's going to satisfy me? You know? Right. It's like with alcohol, you know? Like, right. You know... Like, I can have a couple of drinks, but if I have 10, it's not going to make me... It doesn't affect me. Yeah. In the same way. I mean, you know, I don't go, oh, I gotta have it. Never. I don't have that.
What do you love spending money on?
Like, I love spending money on the kid. Okay. I love that. I love giving gifts to friends. I do enjoy that, and girlfriends. I really get satisfaction out of paying the mortgages on the properties, to be honest.
Yeah, so say more about that.
I quite like that. I'm like, that's good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And what's good about it? That you can afford it, or that you know you've got property, or you know it's a good investment?
I think it's all of those. Yeah. I think it's all of those things. It's sort of like the ability to be buoyant. Yeah. You know, and go, okay, that's giving me a certain level of comfort and confidence.
It just made me remember.
Oh, God.
The rental properties down in Long Beach.
Well, do you remember the one when there was one we showed up for the eviction? Yeah. And the woman was pimping her daughter.
Right. Her bedroom was the front closet. Oh, my God. And they had a pit bull.
But what about who that property was sold to? Because that was in 2008. Yeah. And, oh, my God. And that property, because you helped me find it, sold for 3 times what we paid for it, but sold to a man who was on a pension, was a war vet, and managed to get a completely unsecured loan for some ungodly amount. I was like, wow, could you do that? Now you couldn't.
No, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that. No, you sort of got in and got out. That was some...
Thanks to you. Yeah. You were like, I remember you were like, we gotta get this is not good.
That was a bad neighborhood.
Yeah. Is it still? I wonder if it's still a bad neighborhood.
I don't know. Oh man.
But yes, so I think like indulging. You know, you must indulge. You have to indulge. You mean we're not ascetics. We're not monks. Right. You know, but if you do it too much, you have that diminishing marginal return, don't you? Right. It's like, how many Snickers bars can you eat? Well, one's great, but 10.
Yeah, 4 is really good. But yeah. Maybe 10. What do you loathe to part with money on?
Valet is not working for me. Valet parking. Subscriptions.
Yeah.
Certain subscriptions. I sometimes get very annoyed at the price of coffee.
Yeah.
I get really, I mean, the coffee that's sort of so bespoke that they've, it's been mixed up by like a Cuban girl and they put a mustache on it and suddenly it comes out in a tiny cup and it's $8.
Right.
That is a peeve.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a peeve. What else would annoy me? Yeah, no, valet's a big one. I do not like it. I'll street park all day long.
Yeah.
I don't like spending too much on drinks. I don't think drinks should cost $20.
No,
I have a thing. I don't like that. I think every drink should be $5.
I think that's reasonable.
I think $5. Although I've noticed in the 24 years I've been here, the price of eating out is insane.
It's insane.
Like, it's. I don't know why it's got like that. Maybe it's because rents are so high or something. But that annoys me if I get a check. Oh, I got it. If I go to a restaurant, let's say I go to what's that restaurant in La Brea? Come on, big beautiful one. Oh,
not the bakery.
It's next to the bakery. It's beautiful. It's Le République.
Oh, okay.
So I love République. You go to République, you have a beautiful meal. You're paying over whatever.
Yeah.
You sit down, you get the check. And then in the check, they've added the tip.
Ugh.
Then they've added an extra 5% for the medical. And I'm like, why? And then you're like, you don't want a tip?
Yeah, that's funny. So you pay for the medical as well.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a second. No. Those are the things that would, that's not really things.
Now, if you go out, if you take a bunch of people out for dinner, and you tell everybody that you're paying.
Korean.
You go Korean.
We'll get a Korean food.
And then do you care if everybody gets what they want, or do you?
No, I don't care. No, but if you want to have that sort of fantastic dining experience and you don't want to get jacked, go have Korean because they give you pak cham with all these tiny little dishes.
Yeah, those are cool.
That's the life hack.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't mind with it. We'll let them do it. I don't like it if you're like a non-drinker and you go out and everyone's ordering drinks and then the check comes and someone ordered like 12 bottles of wine and you get lumbered with that bill. But no, people should do what they want.
That's funny. When you were talking about drinks should be $5, I remembered I took, this is like so bad on me, but I took the staff out for dinner, right?
Where did you go?
There was this fancy place in Santa Monica.
You're not going to tell me?
I can't remember the name of it now.
Was it on the ocean front?
Well, my assistant booked the place, and she had a miscommunication, so I thought I was paying happy hour prices because we were going at 5. So I thought the dinner was going to cost me like $100, and it cost me like $600. Okay. And so I was already upset, right? I'm trying to be calm. I'm like, it's Christmas. It's a holiday party. But what got me was I said, you know what? Everybody, whatever you want, get drinks. And a couple people got premium.
Oh, no.
They're like, I'll have the whatever. And the drink was like
18-year-old Lefroy.
Yeah. And I'm like, really? You couldn't just have a margarita? And so I was sitting here trying to be gracious, but in my mind going crazy. So I had to have somebody else hand over my credit card so I didn't feel like I paid for it, even though it was on my credit card.
Well, next year it'll be Outback Steakhouse with well drinks.
That's right.
That's it.
Exactly.
We'll give vouchers.
You get beer or wine, and not an old.
That actually says more about them than it does really about you.
Yeah.
Because
it just triggered me.
Just because if you can take advantage of somebody doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
He says that working in Hollywood. But
exactly.
I mean, I've been taking advantage.
Oh, so where do you want to be financially in 10 years from now?
I mean, a couple more properties. I think a little more cash in the bank. I'm not greedy. Ask me where I would have wanted to travel, and that would be a different conversation. Yeah. That's really more important to me. I sort of like, you don't take it with you. Obviously, you've got to have a certain level of comfort. Mm-hmm. I think that's one thing in America that is very difficult. We don't really look after each other that way. Yeah. There's no real, like and the middle class is getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. Yeah. You don't really, medical's expensive and care is expensive, mm-hmm. and eventually you end up with nothing. Yeah. So I want to sort of avoid that.
Where do you want to travel?
I want to go back to Africa. I want to go to Senegal. I want to miss the Belgian Congo because that's very scary.
Yeah.
I'd like to go to Burma. I think I'd love to do a road trip around Sicily and then Italy. Where haven't I been? Vladivostok, which is the most eastern part of Russia. I'd like to see that.
Have you been to Moscow?
I have been to Moscow.
I would love to go there.
You would? It's quite an ugly city.
Well, I wanted to see...
St. Basil's
I want
and
to
the
see
Kremlin.
the Kremlin Square and all that.
Red Square. Wherever you can go that's not on the 405 is the right journey. Although I will say the 405's been a miracle recently.
It's sort of nice when everybody stays home.
I'm like, what's going to happen when we all go back?
Do you think we'll ever all go back?
Oh, you are cynical about what's going on.
Well, no. I mean, I think there's been a real a paradigm shift. I think a lot of people are realizing I could do this from home. Do I need to be out? I don't know. I think people are being forced, even painfully forced, to be with family, be with people. And I do think, I mean, to the point that you're saying, Americans don't take care of their own sometimes. And I think we're having to reevaluate that.
I mean, I wonder if you're right. I suppose you are, because none of these offices are opening up.
No.
And what does that do to commercial real estate?
There's terrible things for commercial real estate.
What about in retail? Like, people aren't going shopping. They're just sticking at home and clicking. That's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it's a crazy time. Do you like buying stock?
I have, yeah, well, I have. I think, look, you have to play, I've done a few impulse buys. I think that you have to, for me, have a couple, it's like spread betting. You've got like a couple of blue chips that you're safe. Then you've got your sort of medium earners, and then you've got a couple of wild cards, Mine was Schmucker's Jam. That was my wild. I did mess with Bitcoin, as you know.
Yes.
Although Bitcoin's doing well right now.
Well, I'm hoping I got into Bitcoin. You helped sign me up on
Coinbase,
and then I lost all my money.
But it's doing well right now.
I'm hoping I'll at least get back to...
Well, it's at 12,000.
Okay, well, I think I put in 10, and I'm still at 2.
I put in more than that.
Yeah, I'm still down.
I put in more than that. And what did you do? Did you do you did Litecoin, Bitcoin,
and Ethereum?
But you see, they're really great.
Yeah.
Long term, you'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm in for the long. I'm not going to sell until I get my money back.
I think you'll probably see after the election that there'll be a big spike in that.
Cool.
I mean, I'm not a pundit, but
I just hope it gets back up, and then I'm just going to get out.
Really, you just want to cash in?
I don't know. We'll see. If it starts really
when you
growing,
invest like that, though, you've got to be okay with the loss. You just have to be. You have to be at peace with it.
Well, I'm at peace. I've already considered it lost. I just don't want it to be a final write-off.
Wasn't it fun though to just dive in?
It was.
Wasn't that fun to sort of like?
It was, because for that moment I was like, it's going to turn into $100,000.
I'm going to be a millionaire.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, there's no sort of shortcuts to making money really, apart from property. I think is the only.
I think property is still a good thing, even with all that's going on.
Did you? Are we allowed to? Did you find? You found you were going to look at something in Long Beach. You told me.
Yeah, I'm still looking. I'm looking.
Are you feeling it?
I don't know yet. I think the prices. I still think prices are going to drop.
By.
I think a place for $500,000 or $600,000 probably is not going to drop that much.
Right.
But I think a house that's going for $3 million is probably going to drop to $2.7. Like, I think we're going to see. I've already seen in Topanga and other places.
Things at the top of the market?
Yeah, top of the market drops 200,000, drops 100. Houses have been sitting on the market for 258 days.
And what do you think will happen to Los Angeles? Do you think it'll contract? Do you think that?
Well, I sort of hope so, and then because I want to buy some more property.
Do you remember? It used to be, and I'm showing my age, but it used to be a little more vacated.
Yeah,
I remember it was just a bit. Now it's just mad.
It's insane.
And the only things that you're seeing such an influx of condos and building on building on building. I just wonder. I mean, it's sort of exciting for the skyline. I don't think it's exciting for the neighbors, though.
No, well, even a lot of the neighborhoods that are taking garages and putting in ADUs and making duplexes and stuff. So I definitely think, I mean, it's a very expensive place to live. Although my friends in Vancouver would beg to differ and say that it's worse there.
Why is Vancouver? Is Vancouver expensive? Well,
it's incredibly expensive.
Because of the tax.
Is it the tax?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Canada has a very different system to ours, but they tax you pretty heavily there.
Yeah.
And that's where the film business is now. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. So, what would be your words of wisdom to some young kid that's getting ready to go make it big in Hollywood?
Oh, that's easy. Oh, absolutely go 150 miles an hour, hit a wall, get up, get back on, go at 200 miles an hour, get off, get back on. Just go.
Just go.
And don't have a backup plan.
Yeah.
I know people talk about safety nets and things like that. Why have a backup plan?
Yeah.
Why give that
A voice,
chatter?
space?
Why give that, go, fail, and you won't keep failing, because eventually you will make a Jason Mraz video.
Exactly. Hey, that was an amazing Jason Mraz.
I will
Raven.
If I can say this about success.
Yeah.
I'm only saying I've had some success, limited success. It's really is an illusion. It doesn't change how you feel. Like it will never change how you feel. But if you're driven, that will get you through it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I definitely appreciate, and I think I'm still fighting it, that we can't take it with us, right? That it's cash. That it's really about life experiences.
Well, you could if you were being buried in a tomb in Egypt.
I mean, you can't spend it on many things.
No, but the idea was that stuff came with you. So how is it? So you're saying is you can't take it with you. You might as well spend it.
I'm saying you might as well go for experiences. Like that's why I love traveling.
Right.
I love meeting other people. I like seeing other cultures. I think for me the biggest thing about traveling is it shifted my perspective about money, because I've spent some time in Africa and they're so happy. Like, they're happy people. And I couldn't get over that the very first time when I, was like, how can you be happy? You don't have material things.
What do you think it's because they don't have Instagram and they're not there's no FOMO and there's no comparisons and it's just like, well, you have an ox, I have an ox.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, what's the... What
and
do,
if the other one had a car,
conceit
they had an ox.
Yeah, but
Ford.
what do you think the conceit is though? Why do you think that there's...
What I think it is because they don't have all that money. I think one of the things that we have in this country is enough money to build fences and build the walls like you were talking about.
Right.
And I think in places like in certain countries in Africa and Peru, you have to learn to live with the community.
Right.
You may not like Johnny down the street or Billy's the drunk, but you have to all help each other. And I think there's something about that where they do have to take care of each other. And I think we've gotten so individualized in this country that we have the privilege of building walls and fences and keeping people out of our neighborhoods instead of learning to actually interact together.
I think you're sort of speaking to a bigger thing there about perhaps cancel culture, and that it's sort of anti-community, and that it's really not a good thing. Like let's take your idea that everyone's living together and living wonderfully in Africa and the community corrects itself. Mm-hmm. You can't just suddenly eradicate someone. You can't just cancel them out.
Right.
We're here. Before you started filming, we were talking about some people whose lives are just completely over now. They've been
completely
canceled.
Over now.
You know what I mean? They don't come back.
And so I appreciate that there's community and connection, and I keep in touch with some of these people that I've met.
And is anyone coming to stay?
Nobody's come to stay yet, although I'm sure the Nepalese people are so beautifully nice, but man, that's a rough life. So I think...
What did you meet? So you were in Kathmandu and Pokhara? Where were you?
I was mostly hiking the trails up to base camp.
Annapurna?
I didn't make it to Annapurna. That's a different area. I want to go back. But I was up at Everest and Kalapatar, and there's just...
So the people you met were Sherpas? You met Sherpas?
Yeah, met Sherpas
and village people?
And village people.
Did you drink the apple chang?
I had some stuff at the end where we pitched in and had some local crazy alcohol. It's very strong.
I went to Annapurna. I didn't do base camp. Base camp, you're far braver than me. I don't think I could deal with that altitude. I don't know how you deal with that altitude.
Heavy drugs. No.
Did you take no? But did you take anything?
No, I took some altitude.
Did it work?
I did. Yeah, it did. But you have to be careful with that because then you get a false sense of feeling healthy. We actually almost brought my friend back in a body bag because
Young or old?
she was, she was probably 45.
So the way altitude sickness works is that you know what it does. It takes your skull and it sort of crushes
from the inside.
your brain.
Yeah.
Right there. That's why children normally have a really, really bad time with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They normally it's altitude is easier on the old than it is on the young.
Wow.
Because your brain's already sort of.
It's already there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you were like Sir Edmund Hillary coming down the mountain with your friend that you were rescuing in a body bag.
Almost in a body bag. She was on a horse and we were running after the horse because
She was on a
she was starting to go into a coma.
I mean, listen to this story that you're telling me. Where's that going to happen here in Ventura County?
Yeah, it's not.
I was on a horse coming down a mountain. My friend was dying of altitude sickness,
And,
I had a hangover from this apple chango that I'd been given. Was there any? So you mentioned Peru. You've been to Peru.
I've been to Peru.
So did you go to Machu Picchu?
Yes.
So
Amazing.
you're basically the man that likes to go high.
I do.
Right. So nothing under 10,000 feet for you. Colorado, maybe.
I've done the Colorado.
Have you done the
I've done
Continental Pass?
I have not done the Continental Pass.
It's very pretty.
Is that pretty cool?
So hang on, because I'm curious about this. Because I'd love to go to Machu Picchu.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Did you chew the coca leaf?
No, we took the train up. Nobody wanted to walk up. I wanted to hike the trail.
With, what do they have, mules? Llamas?
Yeah, llamas. And chew the coca leaves. I wanted to do that.
You didn't do that?
No, nobody was game for that.
Do you like Peruvian food?
It's good. I didn't try the guinea pig, but I did have the llama. And
Llama's got to be good.
No, it was not bad. It's not bad.
I had I took my girlfriend and my son to Vietnam, and they eat dogs there.
Yeah.
And I watched my son eat dog meat. And
Did he know it?
oh yeah, dog meat. I think that was a big moment for him.
Wow.
It was a big moment. And
So when he's
I
like,
will never do that again, Dad. Now, where's my $50? It
oh
was
my
like
God,
one
that's
of
funny.
those.
So when he says, Dad, I want a puppy, it has a different connotation.
Love that. Yeah. So guinea pig. You
Yeah,
didn't
that
try
guinea
it.
pig, yeah.
So and then did you find? How did you find when you got to the actual Machu Picchu, the big sort of view? What was that like for you?
Oh,
Once
man.
you got there.
Well, for me, I've read about the Incas and all these different Native Americans, and just sitting there and being in this place where these were people of higher learning and all the culture. For me, it was amazing, just the vastness and the ability to build all this stuff. If you left me to build a city up in the mountains, we might have a lean-to, right? It's not gonna be fancy. And just the detail and a lot of stuff, how it lined up with the stars and all this, like there was just so much amazing wisdom in all that was built. So for me, it was just very awe-inspiring and just like, wow, that's pretty crazy, because they did not have, or we're not aware of them having the technology that we have now to build that kind of stuff. So I was just really a lot of respect.
Where's next?
Where's next? I want to go to Patagonia.
To Argentina?
Yeah.
Or will you go to Uruguay?
Yeah, I'd love
That
to do
would
that.
be very...
I want to do a lot of South America.
Brazil?
Yeah, not so much. I'm more like
Uruguay, Paraguay?
Ecuador, all those places. I want to go to the Galapagos.
And what is the yen to go there? Why South America? It's not something I've particularly wanted to do. I'm just curious about it.
I feel like it's undiscovered, untapped.
So you're sort of Vasco da Gama or Columbus.
I just think that, I think it'd be really, I think there's some really cool stuff down there. I don't think we know a lot about Bolivia. I don't know anything about Bolivia.
You mean you don't know about Bolivia?
I don't know
the
about
Bolivians do.
They know plenty about Bolivia.
Right,
Yeah.
we don't know a lot. I like
We
that.
don't.
Venezuela, I think you need to avoid. I went to Cuba. Have you been to Cuba?
I've not been to Cuba. I do want to go to Cuba.
So I went to Cuba and I wanted to have a real Cuban experience.
Yeah.
And I met this guy who was into Santeria, which is voodoo.
Yeah.
And he said to me, to an interpreter, you know, come to my home and I'll give you a purification. So I went with the interpreter, this horrible project just on the outskirts of Havana. And he goes, okay, you got to give me $80. I was like, and he was very nice about it in his apartment. I was like, okay, fine. Gave me $80. He goes, okay, I'm going to go and get stuff. Came back with 3 chickens.
Oh, no.
And I said, okay, I was all in, I'm in, whatever. I had these 2 massive guys chanting behind me in Yorub, which is ancient tribal African.
Right.
And this guy with a massive belly, and he was like, he's chanting away. And then he's, take off your shirt, took off my shirt, got on my knees, cuts the chicken's head off, pours the blood all over me, carrying on chanting. It's just like, you're being purified right now. But comes out with a jar of honey, puts the jar of honey all over me. I'm literally like tarred and feathered. I'm just
with blood and honey.
With blood and honey. And then tells me, congratulates me, tells me I'm completely purified, sticks a cigar in my mouth, gives me that much Cuban rum, says, you've got to drink it straight away. Drank that, and then I was purified. It's quite, but those, you won't get that experience in Burbank.
Not for $80.
I thought it was a steal.
That's a good
Apparently
deal.
I got ripped off, but I thought it was a steal just to have the story.
Oh, man.
That's what travel will give
That's
you.
what travel's about.
Okay.
That's the fun stuff. Well, where can people find you on social media and all that good stuff?
Elliott Lester 88 at Instagram, elliottLester.com. 2 L's, 2 T's in Elliott. I think most of my films are around. I'm around.
IMBD.
IMDb.
IMBD.
IMDb.
DB.
Yes.
Check it out.
Yes, check it out. Well, thank you for having me.
Well, thanks so much.
What a treat. 24 years in the making.
24 years in the making. And I'll just say to our listeners, please don't forget to share the laughs. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Search for Money You Should Ask, all one word. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeart, or your favorite podcast player. Elliott, thanks.